Welcome to the new automation mindset where AI, automation, and integration come together. Successful automation is so much more than technology, it's a mindset. On this podcast, we're here to learn about this mindset from innovative leaders who actually practice it every single day. From Fortune 500 companies to the boldest startups, these leaders have reduced cost, crafted experience, and fueled growth with automation. They have transformed their companies and their careers. I'm your host, Markus, and as Chief Strategy Officer and part of the founding executive team at Workato, it is my mission to find these top innovators in AI, automation, and integration and share their journeys with all of you. You may notice that this show matches the title of the Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling book, The New Automation Mindset by our Workato CEO, Vijay. You'll hear references to the key ideas of this book, the growth, process, and scale mindsets throughout the show. If you'd like to explore them further, be sure to check out the book in hard copy or on Kindle. All right, Vishwas, very excited to have you on the show here. And so you're the senior enterprise architect at Kyndryl. And you know, Kyndryl, it's a new name. Some people might not know this yet, but it's a humongous company. It's actually the infrastructure part of what used to be the infrastructure part of IBM Global Services. We're talking close to what, 90,000 people, right?
That's right.
I think you guys, it's a big company. So awe-inspiring kind of integration, automation challenge. And so really what made the change also of the name from IBM Global Services to Kyndryl is you guys are, it's a spin-off. Right, so you guys spun off. You became your own company. But so Vish, tell us a little bit about once in a lifetime opportunity of going through such a really significant transformation. Your CIO, Michael Bradshaw, what is he looking for? What's the timeline? Tell us a little bit about this world that you're living in right now.
Definitely. Thank you, Markus. Thank you for having me on the show. Just a quick background, right? I'm Vishwas Chouhan. I'm the enterprise architect with Kyndryl CIO. I manage the entire marketing platform for Kyndryl marketing. The goal over here is to make sure that, Kyndryl, after its spin-off, right? And those of you who do not know Kyndryl is the world's largest IT infrastructure servicing thousands of customers, right? We have a presence in more than 60 countries. We service 60% of the Fortune 100 and half of the Fortune 500 companies. And now with this spin-off for Kyndryl, the opportunity was huge to be able to look at the hyperscaler landscape, like with no restrictions, right? And our expertise and our core is in the people that help us support our enterprise customers across the globe. The challenge with this big transformation that came for Kyndryl right after the spinoff was life-changing for me, especially looking at this from a perspective of, like I said, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own the entire marketing technology and be able to rebuild this from ground up to support Kyndryl. And then the strategy also had to align with the overall ask from our CIO, right? The ask was very simple, right? Simplify our technology footprint, reduce our technology stack, simplify our processes, align the strategy to our business, to our capability. And with this being said, right, when we're looking at the marketing technology and the legacy systems that we inherited, in total, we had about 1,800 legacy applications that migrated from our previous company to Kyndryl. And we owned around 180 of those between sales and marketing. And my presence in CIO as an enterprise architect, it overlaps a little bit on the sales side as well, because I deal with lead to opportunity. And again, with the previous company, it was like all of these were happening within siloed domains. The entire end-to-end process was not broken, I'd say, but it was like not done as collaboratively as I would expect it to work. And to drive this strategy, right, we had to like really understand what the ask from the CIO were against, right? We were the one of the biggest challenges that we had is that this big transformation had to happen within a stipulated timeline, right? The timeline and the time to get off these legacy systems was already set for us on the horizon, right? The clock was ticking, every day mattered. And there were multiple streams. When you're looking at a transformation that we're trying to drive at such a magnitude is not easy because it entails collaborating with domains across the enterprise. And the domains itself, right, they themselves are in a flux of constant change across. So the landscape is constantly changing. There's always a shift. Having to keep all of that and have to enable another production line is where the major transformation started to happen for us. Like, how do we align our strategy to CIO where we can adopt SaaS solutions, move away from custom code, and then also simplify our infrastructure footprint where we do not own custom processes, but still be able to drive business.
No, makes sense. So, I mean, I hope all the audience kind of listen to this and goes like, well, this is a big boys project. This isn't like a small little thing. I mean, you have 180 apps out of a total of 1,800 apps. You're doing, I think it was 2 years, right? Is the timeline to kind of get all of this done, which is very compressed in that order of magnitude. And then, the enterprise, you're the enterprise architect. But if I think about this feels bigger than just architecture of one building. This is like city planning, if that makes sense. I mean, you're rebuilding like a whole city all at once while you're trying to remodel and make it simpler and putting in modern buildings and so on. This is a big thing. So I think the audience online, they know about the book, right? The new automation mindset that we put together. So what I wanted today to do is really take a project as significant as yours and kind of go through the kind of structure of the book. We talked about the growth mindset, the process mindset, and the scale mindset. So if you don't mind, let's look at every single one of them and just kind of think about how you approach things. Let's start with the growth mindset. And so, listening to what other people say about you, I think you are the kind of out of the box thinker, the kind of person who kind of leads change. Not everyone does, right? But you're in that's kind of who you are. And obviously that's aligns very well with the growth set. Talk to me about what you saw as opportunities when you thought about the change and doing something new, when you saw a platform like Workato. What went through your mind?
Like I said earlier, right, before getting into this position, like I've spent like the last 10 years on each and every corner of digital business when it comes from front end to back end to platform data, and help migrate the marketing solution platform from legacy systems to enable them cloud. While doing that transition, right, and from legacy to cloud, I was able to see the kind of weight I was lugging with me. And I knew right then and there that, this would need to change because moving from a business where we are selling to consumers and business to a completely B2B model around our core strategic accounts, we needed to simplify. And then, and I've always been, like looking at and thinking outside the box, right? And trying to figure out how can this be done better, right? Always challenging the norms of like, this is the traditional architecture of how we do things. And then what can we do to drive that growth that we need when it comes to transforming our platform from where we are as a legacy system to what we really need for Kyndryl to drive as a strategic platform. And when I was tasked with this requirement, when we ran our chief architect was driving this application disposition and phase of identifying systems to sunset and driving a change around adopting SaaS solutions. My domain already owned a lot of marketing, so that part was easier for me. But then the overall gap within the integration side was what was missing, and I had to really start thinking without having renewed investments of migrating these old legacy process into new environment, new infrastructure, and still be able to achieve this at the speed at which I need to run business, keep both production lines operational, constantly be able to drive those change and publish those changes immediately as in when we get any new information from other subdomains. I needed that speed. I needed that agility to be able to, drive integration. And when I came across Workato, it straight away out of the box fit the bill for me. When I saw that the platform was ready when it came to compliance, security, and was able to provide us observability end to end, was what I was looking for right from the beginning. And then the vast resources of all the connectors that were available, the ease of the platform, the use of the drag and drop capability got me thinking is this is exactly what the need of the hour is for a team that is has so much work to do, manage 2 production lines, and they need something simple. Their focus should not be on CI/CD and infrastructure. Their focus should be more on delivering business value. And Workato was giving us that opportunity, my team the opportunity to leverage the out-of-the-box connectors and drag and drop our flows, create our existing legacy flows, and keep the systems up and running.
You have this visual, I believe, you showed at some point of this inverted pyramid, right? And so I think you described, I think you said at the very beginning, you said there was a lot of weight that you felt from the legacy architecture. And then at the same time, I think you're also telling us, and I think the audience feels that of that urgency that's needed, right, to get this done in a short amount of time. Obviously, the two they don't go well together, right? The weight on your feet, and then you got to run fast. That's a problem. But tell us about these inverted pyramids and what you saw there. What made the difference?
So, I mean, when you look at our traditional approach to where we've evolved as in this whole technology landscape is, you're always building something based on an infrastructure is at the base of everything. Then you're building your applications on top of it. And then you have all your processes, like CI/CD, everything that you need. And then you have the value that is delivered. So when I look at this pyramid and I was looking at it, and I was the first thing that my CIO asked is we got to reduce that footprint of that infrastructure. And knowing that everything that we do around technology is revolving always around business processes and then the technology and people. So for me, my process was evolving and my technology footprint was really broad. And when I started layer this requirement and start to break this up around people, process, and technology, I said that, technology is what needs to give for me, because that'll help me reduce the cost. It'll also help me simplify. And so when I saw that, I was what would it look like for me if I flip this pyramid where my technology footprint is balanced with proper governance around it? And then you layer all your integrations and automations, and you have value. You bring value, which is right now, at the top, and you're flipping that and you're expanding and you're giving more value to the business. And when I started thinking around this, can this be achieved, right? And I started to have conversations with my leadership around this is my vision. This is what I want to drive. It gives us what we need. We need proper governance, but governance can evolve over time. It cannot be defined, right? So, taking that approach and looking at how it would benefit Kyndryl, how it would benefit our, sales and marketing team to take on such big transformation and drive those integrations within that stipulated, time of 2 years was what got me, like all charged up. I would say
No, no, no.
I could really see the opportunity with using the platform like Workato, right? Low code, out of the box connectors. It straight away takes away your infrastructure, network overhead, and all the CI/CD processes and everything that you need. At the same time, it gives you everything that else you need along with it, which is deployment cycles, one click publishing to test and dev, production, security observability. And it was just a no-brainer for me to not to explore that opportunity further and get all the right people to I would say come in, validate, and give their consent.
No, perfect. Yeah, and I mean, look, I think that is a big change, a big growth mindset kind of move. And thankfully you started it early. I mean, I've seen transformation where people go on for 6 months using the old pyramid with the weight at the bottom, right? And then they realize, oops, we're just not going to make it. And then they have to switch over. And sometimes Workato is saving them. But at that point, it gets harder. You guys did it from the beginning, which is obviously gives you the most flexibility. So that's awesome. Let's talk about process mindset. So one of the things the book says is, look, if you want to get this new automation mindset, you want to achieve efficiency, you want to get this all sorted and orchestrated around, you need to think in terms of business processes. And so we're now in this marketing domain, which is your world. It's famous. The marketing space, I think, is famous for all the applications that exist. I think there's this landscape out there that has grown to just, I think the latest chart where all the applications are on there, you can't see the applications anymore. That's how many there are. But so you're talking marketing automation software. You're talking about, you mentioned it, like a CRM integration, account-based marketing, a CDP, customer data platform, enrichment services, events, all of that. So you guys, all this grab bag, but then now there's business processes, right, that cross these application assets. How do you think about that? How do you architect the solution having a process in mind? And how does that maybe differ from the ways you guys did it before?
So all the processes that we inherited, right? We had to really think and reimagine these processes. And processes was again something that was a constant pattern that was evolving around the shift around us, right? And being able to focus just on one domain and say, okay, this is how it needs to work, was not the way to go. So we had to basically keep a fine balance of what is currently there to support business continuity and what do we really require. Look at all of the processes. So for example, we're looking at one of our event systems, and what the entire the number of steps we had in that process was around 120. And immediately when I saw that, right, there was an opportunity over here because of all the pain points that I've heard in our legacy systems. In working on those legacy platforms, I was able to get the leadership, have a design thinking workshop over 5 days, help them to understand what we're trying to accomplish over here is can we really look at this from a completely new lens that supports Kyndryl going forward, not what we've inherited, and we want to push that wheel forward, right? We want to really take that step. So working with the leadership, trying to understand what those new processes are, what are the processes that drive and that marketeers need on a daily basis, right? So reimagining how those processes would fit, take some actionable steps like convincing the leadership around where do you see an opportunity to improve, and having that and define that, right? Share that with the leadership, get their leadership buy-in, and say if this can be enabled, and we can approach this with Workato, right? Because the integration over here is simple. Integration can be done. We just need to focus on what our existing process is and what do we need.
this sounds to me like it's a close relationship with the business people also, right? With the operational people.
Definitely.
On the marketing side. I think that's probably critical to make this all work, right?
Definitely. It's like we need to get the business buy-in, because the end of it, technology does not drive by itself, right? We're not there yet where we can talk about how AI is enabling that for us in the future. But for now, we still technology and people like working, as together as partners, right? And when you're trying to drive that, you need to look at what the teams are trying to do, and does it really help marketeers? So, working with them, business, to like really define what their existing process is and showing them the art of possible, right? As mentioned in the book, is like you need to always rethink, reimagine, how can this be done better? So showing them the various options available and let them, come in and, contribute to simplify helps them, having the collaborative purpose, right? Sharing that one, collaborate on that purpose, on what we're trying to do, and bring them on board, give them ownership of their process, and see if we can simplify it for them. Really helps in any engagement when it comes to bringing change.
Makes sense. So when I work with customers, one thing, especially larger customers like a Kyndryl, what I notice is that there are end-to-end processes like lead to opportunity. For example, you mentioned it, right? But often enough, those end-to-end processes are almost like siloed into little pieces. I mean, I think the best example is like all the applications that are part of that end-to-end process. I mean, rarely does an end-to-end process work across one application only. I think that's very rare. Right? It's typically touches multiple applications across the process. But then often the teams are by applications. They're almost like siloed pieces of the process. Did you guys, did the same exist at Kyndryl or IBM Global Services before? I mean, did you stress that end-to-end view more in the new world?
So, one of the biggest, what I saw in the previous organization was like, these siloed domains like ownership, and then, interfaces available, interfaces governed, but like nobody was thinking this like, holistic, one single domain, right? I look at it, sales and marketing, as RevOps. For me, it's as simple as, I want team to come together to generate revenue. And right from the announcement of when I would be taking up the ownership of marketing as an enterprise architect, I was also introduced to the chief architect for sales and marketing, and I was like immediately started having conversations with them. And one of my first asks to him was like, we need to bring these domains together. This is not marketing, this is not sales. We need to bring the systems together and look at this from an end-to-end process, not within the domain. It's not like, I'm handing over the baton in a relay and then you run with it. It's at the end of it, we need to make sure that, we can cross to that finish line together and have that shared responsibility, right? And that vision of bringing and what it can do for you as a business, like clear visibility, clear requirements are defined. Our processes are still like simplified. We know what the end-to-end process looks like, what you require. All that requirements are met by marketing, and having that clarity, was what I was chasing right from day one. Is like reduce those siloed spaces, bring a collaborative working environment, bring the sales and marketing together.
No, I think this is really critical for the process view, and this is what the book also talks about. Now, I do believe that marketing actually makes for very specific processes, because I don't think there is a domain other than marketing where things are so fluid. I think marketeers like to experiment, right? Maybe your procurement process, maybe that'll stay very similar for years to come, right? But in marketing, that is rarely the case. I mean, there's going to be a new app or a new way of doing things. And so I think probably once you design the process, it's already outdated again, and then someone wants to move around. So I think that agility of the process, that's probably very important for you guys too, right?
Yes, and that really brings to a very very sweet spot in this whole engagement with Kyndryl and trying to drive the marketing technology. It was to deliver at the speed of business, and this is something that I always use this because if you see our traditional way of meeting business requirements is always a backlog with requirements, and marketing is an always on capability, right? It doesn't stop, and like you said, right, they're constantly looking at innovative ways to nurture leads, get the leads in their events, campaign strategies, changes, and it's like constantly evolving. And through all of this, the requirements keep on piling up in our backlog. And this again goes back to the pyramid that I was talking about, right? Your infrastructure, code, business requirements, when you deliver all of those integrations, the value. So the diminishing return, for a requirement that you've received from marketing over a period of time diminishes, and they do not get the results because by the time you've delivered the value, they've already moved on to new things, right? Trying to say, okay, this is what the need of the hour is. How much time are you going to, spend? And that's why I say is like technology, even though we say technology and business work hand in hand, I see it as technology is always chasing business. And what I'm trying to do is trying to reduce that gap. The only way you can reduce the gap is when you can focus on business delivering value, when you don't have to spend time writing code. And especially with the services industry where Kyndryl is, and what we need from as within CIO to support marketing is to be able to deliver that value to business on time, right? And so, yeah, it's an interesting theory when it completely aligns with what I was trying to vision as a pyramid, flip the pyramid where you can reduce the footprint, you can drive more value and be able to deliver at the speed of business.
Yeah, and for you guys, it's compounded almost. Like, you got the big spin-off, and you got an aggressive timeline with that, kind of replanning your city if you want, and plus you're in a specific part of the city, the marketing domain, where things shift all the time. It's the happening part of town, like where new restaurants come up and new shops come up, and things always on the move. So you gotta keep up. It's a tough one. I mean, and I think I also want people to understand here on the line, just how challenging this is sometimes, and that you can. If you have a platform like Workato that can reduce some of that weight and that pain to a certain degree, I think it'll really it does take weight off your shoulder, literally.
It does, definitely. And I mean, you bring a good analogy over here. It's like, your city landscape, and you think about like all the pipes that you want to, connect, right? Like waterways, like distribute water. And if you say I need to distribute water from here to there, you don't have to start thinking in terms of designing your city plan of how those pipelines need to be. You have existing patterns. You have a connector over here. You have a connector over there. All you need to decide is what flows through those pipes and at what speed you want to flow that way. And that's how I look at it as integration. And then a layer on top of it is like if you want to automate it, right? Is like I don't want it to be continuously flowing. I want it to flow with certain thing with factoring in other parameters around it or other requirements that need to be merged together. I absolutely. This is again like with marketing, like I said, is like you have it's like they're always looking at new shiny toys to play with, to make their process efficient, to get those leads in, and then you always trying to chase, right, those requirements, how to get those integrations done, where does the data need to flow. With like a tool like Workato, I think so like all of that is like really taken care of very well. My developers have become business oriented now. They speak the language of business. They engage with business. They understand what needs to be built, why it needs to be built. They don't think about how it needs to be built and what the number of lines of code are going to be required to build that. And that's really improved the engagement with, our technology team and the business team, like coming together and then be able to. So now when marketing ever decides to pick up a solution, we know, okay, we have the integrations available and we just work on what those interfaces are, the security around those interfaces, the governance around those interfaces, and where does this data need to be, pulled or pushed.
So we talked about you have to have a growth mindset, which you demonstrated. You have to have that process mindset. So think end-to-end processes, think that these processes might change and so on. Try to eliminate these process silos. And then last but not least, you need the scale mindset, because a proper transformation, can't happen somewhere in the cellar, like with 3 people, right? I mean, it can't be just the developers who are doing this. It's got to be, you talked about how you're collaborating with the business side and so on. But also that is not easy, right? And so talk to me a little bit, because what I heard is that you came out with this growth mindset and here's the new platform, and then you had your developers. Then what happened, Vishwas? Like what was the reception of Workato with the developer team, and how did that go?
I mean, for me, I had spent 6 months, right, trying to work with Workato and your team to figure out how and everything works together. I got all the certifications to automate level 1, level 2, level 3, and I knew what it would really do, right? But I'm an enterprise architect. I am not running the show, right? It's in the end, it's the technology team and the engineering team, is moving and doing this. And this is, so I had to start. I knew that it's going to be a lot of challenge for me to first change the mindset. So when I started exploring Workato, and after I was convinced and I had seen what it can do, I started to enable my business and my team right from the get-go. It's because eventually it's going to land up on their end and they need to run the show. So a lot of resistance on existing, because if you look at a developer and you say that you're going to stop writing code, they immediately is how am I going to get this done? And how am I going to, they think about scalability, they think about security, they start thinking about can this handle my requirements? Do I have the visibility of what is happening? Yeah, so definitely I met a lot of resistance from my team, but like I said, I had to change everybody to reimagine, right? Change their mindset. And in order to change their mindset, I asked them to run some of their use cases. You have your backlog, you've seen what time you've spent writing custom code, you have some midway understanding of what that process does, and then so that try to do the same thing with Workato and see what it means. How do you feel about using this platform? When they started using the platform, it was immediately after a week of learning, they came back to me and said this is just amazing. It's I was taking so long to do all of this, and now all of that is taken out of the box. I really don't need to spend time trying to think about CI/CD or code or testing and everything. Everything comes out of the box. And our focus has moved from thinking how to write code to focusing on what does business require and how we can deliver it faster. So we saw a tremendous shift in the time that we spent. The efficiency came. And then when they knew that towards the end of our TSA exit, right, we would have such a short runway. They saw this as life-changing. They were able to adapt. From then on, it was focusing on, how to get the platform ready. So I started focusing on the platform, getting it enabled, getting all the connectors ready that they needed. We did some groundwork around understanding what our existing processes were, documenting each and every process is what it was doing, and what were the changing systems in front of us that we would need to integrate with, and how and what the processes would and the data requirements for those pipelines required. So once we had all of this documented, it was just so easy for my team to just come on board and start driving those, requirements and closing those backlog items in day 2 days time. We initially had planned about 9 to 10 months for our lift and shift, and thinking about how this would be without Workato for us. With Workato, we were able to complete this in 4 months time. And
So I guess what it is, when the pressure is on, right? When the clock is ticking, then the developers see like, oh wow, maybe I can get this done and go home in time.
Exactly.
and spend time with my families, and that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
It takes, I mean, literally, again, to the point, it takes weight off my shoulders.
Definitely, it's some of the developers, it's been like really life changing. I mean, I know they miss coding. I personally myself, I miss coding. But you got to sometimes you got to keep your personal goals away from what you're trying to do for your business, right? And I was like, this is what business needs, right? How do you align your goals to this, right? Like I said, it's a shared responsibility. You need to align your goals and your checkpoints around what you're delivering for business as a value. At the end of it, they're not going to come and evaluate your code. They're going to look at what you've done for business. So if the business is growing and you're driving those pipelines, then the results are what your KPIs that you deliver are those checkpoint goals for you. So you are meeting your business objectives, and that's what your focus needs to be. At the same time, I'm not saying that stop coding or do anything. You have access to the platform, you have access to write custom code or do your POCs on the side, right? If there's a better way to do something, do it and share. At the same time, from a business perspective, look at what we need to simplify our technology stack. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of resistance in the beginning. Some of our sales teams, they had a doing big data pipelines, and then having them to say shift gears and now use this tool where you just drag and drop and boom, you have your pipelines. It just did not sit well with them either. But I guess it takes a village, and it takes an initiative to engage, get the right amount of engagement to drive your teams to the vision that you've created, and help them, be the guide and be the helping hand, showing them every step of the way what it is delivering for your business, at the same time enabling you to deliver that value to business.
It seems like it actually helped the developers in a certain way also, because I do believe that, I think you mentioned earlier, they got closer to the business, right? They actually got more familiar with what the problems actually were they were solving, which I do believe is an important skill. I mean, for a career of a developer, the more you know about the business side, I think the more effective you will be. Would you agree?
Definitely. It's trying to I think it also, when you look at 5-10 years from now, right? We are getting to, or we've already started on a journey where we want to automate things. We are looking at generative AI and how it can help automate and improve our processes, and looking at the future, that is the need of the hour, right? You're going to be focused more on business. So as an engineer, understanding what business is, right? Creating those citizenship developers, and from both sides, right? Low code, no code platform becomes a common language for both business and technology to speak, because there used to be this constant, shake between business and developers. When business came the requirement, always some friction over there trying to communicate that requirement in ways that possible. And I've dealt with that in the past. But when I see a platform like low code, no code, it removes that, that friction between business and thing. You can speak the same language. So you're converting your developers to business, and you're converting your business to engineers, and they speak the same language. And when you can get that aligned, it's like there's no stopping. And that was the goal, was helping both sides of my team on the business side and on the technology side. Like these days, oh, we have this requirement. Oh, it can be done in Workato. There's a connector for it, right? That gives that easy confidence to a business to bring the requirement, saying that let's get this thing done. The goal over here now is to ensure that we have the right governance in place, because I don't want every requirement to be thought from, oh, can it be done using Workato? It needs to be really governed on what we are building, why we're building, who is accessing it, and then scale the usability of the platform within our domain and across our domains.
And can you imagine also talking about governance, because we're talking about the scale mindset, right? So one of the ideas is, again, go into the business, but then also involve as many people in IT as you can. Some of the older tools, you had to be a specialist on your tool. Maybe you're a specialist Java coder, or you specialist backend programmer, or you specialist integration, MuleSoft developer or something like that. It's like almost like you have to do this all day long. What's your plan there with Workato? Because I think you could probably be, an application administrator, I think can be part of a process now also. I mean, you can get more people involved, right? And how do you think about the governance across those people?
I mean, governance is a key component of this, because when you think about flipping the pyramid, now the pyramid is standing and on a tipping point, right? It could tip both ways. And how do you stabilize it? And I said the only way to it stabilizes is by having that force field of governance around it, right? It's an invisible field. It does not restrict anyone, but then having the right access for people in place, it allows us to scale, because now you're going from, like I said, from a specific skill set to no skills required. No skills required meaning understanding of the business process and understanding of the connector is what you need. You don't need to be specialized in one thing. You could be specialized in everything. And with the right governance, you're able to drive that. You can federate the platform and educate and enable your business to work, right? Where the business wants to come in, do something, they can, and play around to improve process or do POCs. But at the same time, they have the right support from the technology team to ensure that, right, that not everything is going live in production. It's going with some checks and balances. The end of it is you don't want to overcrowd. At the same time, you don't want to stop anyone. And that is the mindset that, the effort right now is to drive that for a further adoption.
This is fascinating. For each episode, I kind of made a little goal, and I say I want to distill one little nugget that I think I really want people to remember. And I think it's that inverted pyramid. I think it really is. If you think about what you can accomplish with this new automation mindset, right? You're going from something that's weighted down, where you're actually spending a lot of time and effort and so on that infrastructure. And then you have your applications, there's many of them, and then it's mixed up with custom code. And unfortunately, because of all that weight, you're actually getting to not that much value at the top. There is a little bit, but it's limited. And now we can flip it around. And it's actually, not that much infrastructure at the bottom. I mean, it's still there. It's just taken care of by Workato in a way. And then you have more cloud native applications in there, but all the rest that you have, right? Instead of custom code, you have a low code platform like Workato. And then what it means is that you actually get a very significant amount of business value. The only thing, as you mentioned, I love this, by the way, is that it is a pyramid standing, on the top. So I mean, it can fall, right? But you have the governance framework for that, and that's that invisible force that keeps it up. That makes it possible that you can scale across more a developer. It makes it possible that it's it doesn't crumble in a way, and it's because otherwise it would be the Wild West where everybody just does whatever they want, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I guess, that's pretty much it. I mean, for me, that the moment when I was looking at, what my technology people processors sort of like put that pyramid together, I was like, that weighs you down. And how would it be if we could remove that weight? Or, I mean, how many times do you want to spend writing in the same CI/CD management infrastructure? We adopt SaaS solutions because it's out of the box. You don't have to manage it. Why can't the same be applied for an integration platform as a service? Why can't we think about a decoupled integration platform that's completely platform agnostic, can integrate with anything you need, right? Any of your technology stack, any SaaS systems, and focus to deliver value. I would say that, when I look at Workato, I don't see it's driving integration and automation. It's driving value. It's driving to the point that, you can close the gap between technology and business, and you can walk hand in hand as it should be, Indra.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to close the conversation here. I mean, I hope the audience seeing that this is possible. It almost seems a little too good to be true, right? But it is possible. It's worked in a very large enterprise, Kyndryl, 90,000 people. It worked under, severe pressures, a 2-year spin-off from an old entity with lots and lots of applications and complexity and process silos and so on. And then it also worked, let's not forget, in a domain marketing, marketing sales, which actually by itself has a lot of complexities by just having to be very agile because things change all the time. So there's a lot of redoing that is just normal. It's nothing wrong. It's just the nature of the beast, if you want. Vishwas, thank you so much. I hope the audience got inspiration, and there might be ways to make life easier, as you said, your developers experience. So thank you, Vishwas. Thanks for the audience, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Markus. Thank you for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for tuning into today's The New Automation Mindset, where AI, automation, and integration come together. If you want to learn more about the key topics we covered in the show, you can find them in the book, The New Automation Mindset by our Workato CEO, Vijay Tella. Also, leave us a comment and let us know what you thought of today's conversations. And don't forget to subscribe so you will never miss an episode. I'll see you next time.